Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So just to get to know more of you, who you are, can you just start by telling us who is Abel Ng'andu right from the beginning?
Okay, thank you very much, Roorkee. Abel Ng'andu was born in the Copper Belt in Chile-Lawombe. I was born in the Copper Belt in Chile-Lawombe. I'm 43 years old. Wow. I know I look young.
Very young, eh?
Yes. Yeah, but though I was born in Chile-Lawombe, I actually basically grew up in Chawama. I went to school at Chawama Primary School. Of course, my parents are Zambians, both of them. From Chawama Primary School, I went to Rwanda Secondary School. Then after Rwanda, I went to University of Zambia. But I didn't stay long at University of Zambia. I was just there for 1 year. And after 1 year, I got a scholarship to go and study at the Indian Institute of Technology in India. In India there, I graduated with a distinction in civil engineering, and I came back to Zambia in 1999. So the Abel you're looking at is just basically just like any other ordinary Zambian guy. I grew up in Chawama like anybody else. And I worked, of course, when I came back from India, I joined a consulting firm, which is a civil engineering consulting firm called Bichot, Brian Caon, Hugh Ordoneo and Partners. I worked there for about 3 years. Of course, I learned a lot of things, when I was at Bichot there. I mean, the basics of consultancy and all that. But something in my heart, of course, was driving me to say, look, I think I could do better. So I resigned from that position, and I resigned to go and stay at home. Because when I looked around in Lusaka, I couldn't find any consulting firm which was inspiring me at the time. So I just said, let me go and reflect. But during that time, I also got a scholarship to go and start my master's in Canada. Then I had to, I think that was somewhere in June in 2001, somewhere there. Then I had to decide now whether I should go to Canada to go and do my master's or I should start up my own business. But fortunately, because I really wanted to start up my own, so I used to attend a lot of seminars. One of the seminars that I attended was a program called Roorkee program. And it was first held, I think, in 2002, when the government of Zambia was putting, actually what they call it Road Sector Investment Program. They were actually drawing up a program for the next 10 years to look at the roads, to upgrade them and all that. And that time we were just coming from the, what was that, when Zambia didn't have a lot of money, the HIPIC, yes. So we're coming out of HIPIC. So that's when now they decided, said, no, let's start raising the money through fuel levy so that we can invest in the road sector. So I went to that seminar, and in that seminar, there were a lot of foreign companies who had come to do presentation and to ask about the program, what was going on. Then at one of the time that one company was presented, it was so nice when they were doing the presentation. That company was called UWP Consulting from South Africa. Then I sort of developed interest, and I raised a hand at the back, just as a young man. Then I asked the question. I said, why don't you open a branch in Zambia? And I want to be your local partner. And when I spoke like that, everyone was surprised. How can such a young man stand up? At that time there was Dr. Ludwig Sondasi, he was a minister. So when somebody wanted to talk me down, he says, no, please, can you let him talk? So then I spoke, I said, no, I'm ready, I can. Then they said, you are not experienced, you don't have any money, and all that kind, the accusing voices at the back. So I said, no, I'm going to speak. Then I said, I've worked for a consulting company, I know how it is run. I know maybe I don't have proper management skills, but I can learn. So that's how now I went to speak to these guys from South Africa. And Dr. Ludwig Sondasi in that seminar, personally, encourage those guys, say, look, if you want to open a branch in Zambia, then that is the young man you should give the opportunity to that young man. And you know, before time passed, you know, every time you have a seminar, you go for lunch and all that, those guys approached me. They say, can you be our local partner? And that's how a company called Ng'andu Consulting was formed.
Fantastic, amazing story, eh? From humble beginnings. And something I'm really picking out is the confidence that I think that's what took you to the next level. So when you started your company, it was in partnership with some foreign partners.
Yes.
And how long did that run for up until you transitioned into running your own company? Okay.
First of all, you know, when they told me we have to form a company, I think one of the first things that a guy called Peter Morrow, is a British citizen but he's based in South Africa. When he came to me, he told me, look, we are ready to form a company with you. And you are very young. And he told me something. He said, you know, everything about this company in Zambia will depend on you. You can either build it or you can destroy it. And he told me, do you have any money to contribute to this company? I said, I don't have any money. In fact, I even told him, I said, I'd go to the seminar there, I went by a minibus. Actually, I went by a minibus. So he says, what do you mean minibus? I said, no, I've got a 2,000 kwacha, which I'll use to go back to Chawaba. You know, they just... So then the guy says, if I gave you $100, I'll give you $100 because I want to see you at the holiday inn. So I said, yeah, you can give me that, but that's a lot of money. Then he says, no, look, go and change that. But tomorrow, you come and see me. So I went back to Holiday Inn, and we had a discussion with him, and he told me, you know what builds up people is honest. If you are very honest, you are a very active guy, you're very, ambitious. But I hope you're honest. If you're honest, then you're gonna go places. And I told him, I said, I'm honest. So then he says, okay, fine. Here is actually, he didn't give me $100, now he increased it. He says, here's $1,000. Can you go and register a company, a consultants company, and yourself, you decide the name. Once you decide the name, then come back to us. And you fly to South Africa or buy your ticket to come. So I went to South Africa, when I went there, I registered a company, but I was not confident. I still was calling him on phone. I said, what should be the name of the company? Then he says, what's your surname? Then he said, Ng'andu. He says, why don't we set up a company called Ng'andu UWP Consulting? I said, no, Zambians won't accept the name Ng'andu, it's better we keep it UWP, maybe it will make sense, it will sell. He says, no. He says, do you know why? You should include your name. Because when it fails, you also fail. So the stakes are high. So can you include your name and register Ng'andu UWP Consulting? And that's how I registered. And the next thing they did was, they said, how much capital do you need? Then I didn't know, I had no idea. Okay, I had no idea. And I was told, okay, we're gonna send you $80,000. Hello? Yeah, then they told me we're going to give you $80,000 in your personal account. We'll send it, wire the money, once it hits your account, tell us. And they sent the money, it came into my account, and they just told me, go about it, set up a company, and running up and down stationary and all that. And the guy never came to Zambia for 2 months. And I was worried, how am I going to account for this money? Why doesn't he come? Then afterwards, of course, he came. Then he didn't ask for the money. He just told me, tell me the paperwork, what you've done and all that. Then I went through and I told him my expenditure and all that. And out of that $80,000, I just spent another additional $800 just to run up and down. And I used to go by minibus, to make sure that they don't temper that money. So when I gave him the receipts and the small notebook where I was taking my cost, he looked at me, says, what about your salary? Were you not buying food for the service? I said, no, I eat, from my parents. So then he says, but you're a director. don't you know that you've become a director now? I said, oh, okay. Then he says, why don't you, what should be your salary? So he was just trying my mind. But anyway, to cut the story short, everything went on very nicely. And he told me, Abel, I think you are very honest. So you open a company account. And we opened the company account. And when we opened the company account, we employed about 2 or 3 people. Then I ran now Ng'andu Consulting from me being alone. And I can tell you, that guy was not based in Zambia. He was based in South Africa. I was running the company myself. And he told me that if you need advice, just ask me, but we want you to run it. So I used to prepare proposals, tenders and all that kind of, I attended to the tender board, tender opening and all that. And from 2003 to the time we reached 2009, when we separated with them, the company grew from 0 turnover to a turnover of about maybe $5 million a year, okay? And I deployed about 40 employees. We had about 19 engineers, and the rest were support staff like technicians and all that. So you can imagine where you start 0, then the guy would come and say, look, I want you to buy a car. Why don't you buy a car? I said, which car? And I remember, you go to Toyota Zambia, you looked at, is it Toyota Radar? You go there, he says, why don't you pick this? And I could see, I was very confident in doing things, but I didn't build up enough confidence for me to say I deserve it. But it went on very well, and I built up the company, and at the time we were in 2009. Of course, one of the things, whenever you're running a company, that company had directors. And one of the things that we had agreed upon was, we want, after some time, Zambians should take over. We should have 51% shareholding, because I had only 20% shareholding. So we had differences in that, and we said, okay, fine. At that time, I was confident enough. I said, you know what? I can run on my own. At that time, we had actually, in 2009, we had just won an award. We were the best consulting firm in Zambia. And we were also we also won the best innovative design. If you go to Lake Bangoro, you'll find a bridge. It's a floating bridge. We designed it. It's a floating bridge. It's a pedestrian. It was designed there. It rises with water levels. It was done under my supervision. It was fabricated in Zambia. And we won an award not only in Zambia, but in South Africa, by the South African Steel Association there. So we won that, and it gave me a lot of confidence that even as Zambians, we could have ideas which we could develop. And the floating bridge we had first done in the Second World War. So to see it being realized in Zambia, it was a good thing.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Excellent story. So when you transitioned into running your own company, how did you select your partners? Did you select friends, family? How did you start up your own firm?
Yeah, actually that's a very interesting question. When I resigned from UWP, I left. I said I want to form my own company. I was not immediately given my shares. Shares, accountants have to do their numbers, whatever, the company is valued, then they give you. And that takes a lot of time. So I was only given that money, I think, 1.5 years later. But Ng'andu Consulting was formed in 2009. Immediately I left. So I didn't have any capital. I did not have, the only thing I had, of course, a vehicle and my house and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't have any capital. I came out of there, but what I had, what was confusing me in my heart, first of all, I was running Ng'andu UWP for 6.5 years. I was the one who was in charge. I was the face of the company. The government knew me. They knew the kind of work that I was doing. All the ministries, wherever we got contracts, they knew me. So for me, the first thing I did, I said, look, I've got connections. They know me, I've networked enough. So if I go there, I've told them to say, I've left this company, I want to form my own company. There won't be a problem. So the first people I approached, of course, were the politicians. Where you go to the minister and say, look, you say that you want to promote Zambians. I've resigned there, I want to set up my own company. Can you support me? Then he says, why not? And I can tell you, that's why I talk about Dr. Ludwig Sonders, because those are people who said directly, says, you can form your own company. What is wrong with that? You've run that company with other partners. What about you as a Zambian? Can't you run it? So you go and see the senior directors at RDA and whatever and tell them to say you want to start tendering. And I went, I did, the introduction. They told me, Abel, you don't need to introduce yourself. We know you. Just start preparing tenders and submit as Ng'andu Consulting. And we shall shortlist you because we know you've got the experience. You are a very good engineer and you've done very good works. And that's how now when we tendered and we won the jobs. The first job that we won was in 2009. The first job was valued about maybe $500,000. Okay? 3 months later, we got a contract worth $25 million. Okay? And we started now doing that project. So you can imagine where you are new, you are given $500,000 of work supervision, then you get now a project management project to manage a very big construction project. And it was $25 million given in our name as Ng'andu Consulting. So immediately I set up a team. It was initially, of course, the first team was about 20. Then as we are growing, there were those Formula Ones, we've done a lot of projects now. The staff complement grew from 20 to about 120, And the lowest, but of course, when you have good staff, I had to make sure, I said, for us to motivate our staff, I should look at where I come from. I should look after these people very well. That's why up to now, Ng'andu Consulting, I think the lowest paid worker in Ng'andu Consulting is about 2,500 person. And that's the person who pays. Yes. Okay. So we grew now from a company of 20 people to a company of 120. And our turnover immediately, of course, it was already above $20 million. The second year, we continued, and I must hasten to say that I'm not alone in Ng'andu Consulting. I'm the majority shareholder, I own 51%, but there are other partners who are Zambians. There's David Mwale, he's a civil engineer. There's Leongu, he's also a civil engineer, qualified civil engineer. There's another guy called Gilbert Fita, then there's a guy called Evans. So they hold the other 49%. And I invited them, I said, you know what, let's build up this company. And I can tell you, I think from 2009 to now, we've quite grown. We employ now about permanent staff in terms of engineers above 20. We've got full staff complements of about 85. But we know, I think in the next 2-3 months, as you know, consultancy, there are projects which ends and others begin. So on average, if I say this year, we have employed about 100. But also what I wanted to tell you before I continue in Zambia is that in 2010, we decided to open a branch outside Zambia. We opened a branch in Rwanda, that's in East Africa. We are currently actually one, if not, I think, I've not been informed, but I think we are either number 1 or number 2 consulting firm in Rwanda. We were also appointed, we went to South Sudan, where we were doing institutional reforms in terms of setting up the road sector. Zambia was chosen by South Sudan as a model on which they want their government to copy, the way our systems are organized. So one of the Zambians who set up actually the road agency here is our partner in Rwanda. And that is the one who was dealing with that South Sudan outfit. And we also, South Sudan works, we do them from Kigali, now there's more there. But we have a branch in South Sudan. We've got the partners there from South Sudan, they have got about 10%. In Rwanda, the other partners, the locals there, have got 10%. Zambians we have about 90%. And apart from that, in Rwanda, again, we have also invested in housing. We'll be building about 42 housing units, which we are going to own and put on rent. We have already bought land. We've done the designs being engineers. So we are the only Zambian, I think right now, We are the only Zambian consulting firm with branches outside Zambia and fully owned by Zambians.
Wow, amazing. I think what comes to mind for me is that I would like to know maybe the experience that you've gained working in 3 different countries. Are the environments there more enabling to set up businesses, or do you think the Zambian environment is more enabling?
Yeah. You know, just in fact to answer that question, you know, I appeared one time, I remember, I think last year, on the African Union panel. I was on the panel discussion, I think at Mungushu, where it was barriers to trade, you know, trading services. And one of the things that why they selected me was because we are one of the countries, one of the few companies, in fact in Zambia, maybe the only company in Zambia, with a branch in a non-English speaking country. You know, in Rwanda they speak French. Even if the official language is English, but they're just coming from the French speaking, past. So there, one of the things that we had problems with, of course, was language. When you are there, you know, to communicate in French is a bit of a problem. But we managed to get our partner who understands a bit of English. But if I compare, I think it is easy to set up businesses in Zambia because maybe, okay, it's our country, of course, and I think the PACRA system is very straightforward. But I must also tell you that in Rwanda, they have got what they call RDB, Rwanda Development Board, like the way they have the ZDF. They have, it is called a one-stop shop. We managed to register our company in 2 days. Okay, but one thing I liked there, when we went to register in Rwanda, the first thing they asked, where is the Rwandan partner? You know, that's the first thing. If you go to PACRA, they will not ask you that. You just pick up the forms, fill up, and whatever. But there they ask, where is the Rwandan partner? And they say, we are going to give the forms to a Rwandese, not you. So go and find the Rwandan partner first, then come back, then we can come and give you the forms. So that thing, I was very impressed by that. Because already that officer was promoting Rwandese. Yeah. He knew that we are foreigners. Yeah. So he says, no, first Rwandese should benefit. So can you bring a Rwandese partner? So it was very easy to set up that company there. And also in Rwanda, I think it's very similar to Zambia. They allow 100% externalization of profit. You can take your profit back. We don't have a problem in sending money to Rwanda or getting money from Rwanda to Zambia. There's no, you can actually walk in there. They're actually more liberal. Even if you've got $2-3 million in your account, in Rwanda you can go on the counter and withdraw $3 million. Whether you can go with a truck, they'll just give you. So they are very flexible in terms of, I should hasten, they are really very organized. So in terms of, setting up businesses, it was very easy. South Sudan, the same thing. We were, of course, we were invited by the government of South Sudan. When we reached there, we met the Minister of Information, who is Dr. Mariam or something, because it was a government to us invitation. So we were well received, and because of that, we decided to set up a company. And when we set up that company, we are just hoping that peace can return there, and we can continue growing.
Interesting. What I'd like to hear from you is when you made your first profit, how did that feel and what did you buy?
Yes. You know, when we made the first profit, the first thing I looked at, look, I'm young. And just like other young Zambians, I liked, the Range Rover Sport. So at first I said, okay, fine, I want to walk into the showroom and go and buy a Range Rover Sport. But fortunately, a friend of mine was selling one which was very good already. So I bought the first car when Abel Ng'andu Consulting was the Range Rover Sport. And that gave me a lot of confidence, drive, motivation. Of course, I've gone on, of course, to own other very nice cars, yes.
Okay, interesting. So what would you say makes one to be a successful entrepreneur? We have so many entrepreneurs in Zambia, and some have done well for themselves like you, very accomplished, but some have been struggling. what is it that would distinguish you from the rest?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say this. Of course, you know, you need school for you to manage your paperwork. You need that kind of school. But school is not everything. But I want to encourage that, you know, it's always an advantage. First thing you have to do is, first of all, honest. You know, honest is everything. If you're not honest, then you can't rise. And I'll give you an example. I don't think anyone, if you want to give, say, you want to send somebody money to take to your mother or something like that, if you take out the money and you know you don't have the time to give it to your mom, you're going to pick somebody who is honest among your brothers or your friends. Say, please take it to my mom, and you know, take it there. And that's a very fundamental principle, because it will help you in future. Other people cannot put money in you if you're not trustworthy. So trust is everything. And I can tell you, most Zambians, even when they start business, they don't honor their words. When they agree with somebody, when the thing works, you call him, boss, what about that thing for me? It's, no, I think it's better I give you half or something. You know, so honest and integrity is crucial. But the other thing that I want to tell you, which will make you, you know, first of all, you don't need capital for you to make it in life. All you need is yourself. And one of the fundamental books that I've read, which is very, very encouraging, it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You know? And the first habit, it's called be proactive. You know, there are people, you know, even when you enter a crowd, you find you want to hide. And you wonder, what are you hiding from? You know, it's better, you know, when you enter a crowd, people should be able to say, there is Abel. You know, even if you are talking, it says, yeah, Omo and Abel, you know, that kind of stuff. Not where, you know, you enter, you are a non-entity, you're not even, you know, you're not even visible. People have to look for you to find you. So, you know, that thing is a personal thing. It has nothing to do with other people. And you know what the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People says? It is just summarized in 2 things. They say in life, if you have to be successful, or you have to be likable, or, you know, somebody people can trust, you must fight and overcome 2 wars. You must win 2 wars. The first war, which you have to win, you have to overcome, and that victory is called private victory. The second one is called public victory. The private victory is yourself. If you are a problem, you know, if you've got low self-esteem, you've got problems, issues with yourself, then, you know, you cannot interact with others. You know, there are people where you find a guy, when he comes, or a lady comes, that person is just an irritant to other people. Because she's got her own, or he has got her own issues to deal with. So the first thing you have to do, and that is why even in the 7 habits, they say be proactive. You know, the first 3, 4 habits are more of a personal thing. It's about the personal fight. The second habit, I mean, the other 3, the last 2 habits are what we call public victory. You know, like, you have to be independent yourself before you can go to another person to say, can we do business? And independence does not mean you have money. Independence means you have to have self-confidence yourself before you can come out and go into another house to, you know, to partner with that person. So you find that most people, where they fail, it's their personal problems. You find the person has low self-esteem, he has no confidence. When people talk, you know, even I've seen when Zambians go, most of them, you know, go for seminar. When Zambians enter seminar, the first thing they do, or maybe a seminar, no, a cocktail, the first thing they do, they will look around for a friend. Then they will go there, my friend, are you here? You know, and they want to talk, you know, they don't want to go to a white guy, or they, you know, they are just scared. They don't want to go to a strange person, or they'll go towards the door, as if, you know, somebody is about to run away. Now, you know, if you've got that attitude, how do you expect to succeed? Me, I'll tell you, one of the very thing that I have is drive. Me, I don't have fear. I respect people, yes. I'm honest. And I approach everybody. If there's a problem, and they tell me that the person who is dealing with it is the minister, I'll go there and meet the minister myself. And I'll tell him my problem. My problems are ABCD. Mr. Minister, what can you do for us? Then he'll tell me, no, the procedure is ABCD. Go to ZRA, go to what? I'll go there and I go there and meet them. And I've seen it in my company. You send somebody else, the guy goes there, the results are low. He comes back, did you talk to him? No, I was scared. No, the Commissioner General came out, so it was a bit tricky. I said, so why did you talk to him? He says, no. Then I said, okay, fine, I'm going there. Then there I go, oh, Mr. Ng'andu, where are you coming? I'm coming from Ng'andu Consulting. Who do you want to see? The Commissioner General. Do you have an appointment? Yes, I came, I gave an appointment, I want to meet him. I go there, he welcomes me, yes, Mr. Ng'andu, sit down, I tell him exactly my problem. So I think the secret to success, what I've said, you have to have the self-confidence, you have to have the drive. I'll tell you, if you want to make it in life, you want to drive a private jet, you want to have a private jet, you have to have a Range Rover, whatever you want to become. I'll tell you, nobody is going to give you the money. You have to have the personal drive to do it. And I'll tell you, don't hold other people responsible for your failure. No, it's you. You were created in the image of God. And if you are created, if you are created in the image of God and you are equal with everybody, why should you fear? And that is why you say success is not common. Because it takes people who have courage, who can stand up, I can tell you, in the past, to sort out my personal problem, even where our challenges, I've been to State House before. I've gone there, I said, look, let me go and see the president. I've gone there, I've explained to him, and he listens. But when you tell people, say, I'm going to see them, how are you going to go there? You will see, no, you need to know the cadres. I said, no, me, I'm going there, I want to see the president. Because the problem is ABCD, Zambians are not empowered, we want Zambians to get projects. And I've gone there. And you meet the president, you find he's just a simple man. And you tell you, Abel, is this your problem? He says, yes. But why are you being discriminated against? And I tell him, and he picks up a call and he calls people. Now when we are given projects, they say, no, Abel is favored. So what I think that is very crucial for me. If you want to make it in life, first of all, you don't need money. So don't come and say, no, the interest rates in the banks is too much. No. The first thing is you. You reorganize yourself as a person. Why are we thriving? Why is Ng'andu Consulting thriving even when the interest rate is 28%? And the other thing which I want just to add, because I just spoke about this Ng'andu Consulting. We have set up another company called ALD. Okay, ALD Plant and Fleet Management. It will be producing construction materials for houses, for general construction. Slabs, blocks, concrete sleepers for, the rail line, electric poles, those concrete electric poles, because, you can't depend on, these which way you grow, they are not environmentally friendly because you are cutting down trees. Okay? We've put up that. I'll tell you, we went out and got a loan. We've put up an investment of $6 million. It's a loan I didn't fear. But I said, look, we have to diversify. Because this road sector will not always be there. Okay? Maybe 2-3 years from now, the government will slow down. But we saw it. We said, look, let's register that company. That company was registered in 2010. As I'm telling you now, it will be open next month in Kafue. And that company, the capacity it has, the machinery which is just there, the capacity it has, once it's fully operational, the turnover will not less than $80 million per year. And why? Because we have taken, of course it's a loan we have to pay in 8 years or something. But once we are prudent in the way we do, we manage our affairs and all that, it will come up. And next time, if it grows too much, we'll take it to Lusaka Stock Exchange. You say, look, let other Zambians buy shares in it and let it be listed. And I did that. I did not get any permission from somebody. Of course, when I told other people, say, look, I'm going to get a loan for, say, $5 million to $6 million. He said, what? I'm telling you, they'll come and grab your house, everything, whatever. I said, look, why should I fear? Because I'll tell you one principle in business. You don't use your money to make money. You use other people's money to make money. That's the principle. What is important is prudence. I did not go and buy a Range Rover Sport when I couldn't afford it. I bought a Range Rover Sport out of my profit. when I knew that I've invested, I've got sufficient. Okay, even when I bought a house, I bought these things, it was excess. But the biggest problem we have also with Zambians is that, you know, the guy makes the first money. It's not even profit. Yeah. It is just money to pump into the business. The guy goes and buys a Mercedes Benz. You know, he goes to New York on business class and whatever. But me, I'll tell you, it took me 5 to 6 years to start flying business class. Of course, I have to spoil myself because I know I can afford it.
Fantastic. Could you just shed some light on I think you won an award in Europe for best practice?
Yes. You know, first of all, one of the things that we do as Ng'andu Consulting, you know, first of all, of course, we put up a strategic plan. You know, as a company, if you want to be helped or somebody has to buy into you, you have to have a plan. So if you don't have a plan, how can people trust you? Because they'll tell you, okay, Mr. Ng'andu, where are you going tomorrow? Where is your company going? And most of, you know, personally, even before I answer that, at the personal level, you find if you ask a lot of, say, young people, or even general Zambians, you tell them, says, what's your plan for you for this year? All of them, they are totally lost. Even for tomorrow, it's okay, what are you doing? I don't know. Maybe you just go, you know, break point or something, maybe, you know what I'm trying to say? You have to be organized in life. You know, you cannot be, because, you know, if this, our mind was created to be controlled. It's either you control it or somebody will. So a lot of people in this country are controlled by others because they don't have their own programs anyway. And I'll tell you myself, I have certain friends of mine, you just call him, where are you? You just tell him, I'm at this place, it's organized. You know, that kind of, you should be able to say, no, my friend, I think today, look, I can't make it. Today, you know, my friend, I'm studying or I'm doing, you know, I've got a meeting. At 20 hours, I'll be free, then I'll come. But I'll tell you, 3/4 of Zambians, ask them. No, yeah, now someone, I'm coming. You know, you don't have to be like that. As a person, whether you have money or not, you have to be organized. Okay? So one of the things that we did was to put up a strategic plan so that we know what is coming after 5 years and all that thing. The other thing which we did was, in that strategic plan, we set out to, you know, we set out to put Ng'andu Consulting to be ISO certified. I don't know what you know about ISO certification. It's an international standard, yes. So we said, you know, we have to do our, whatever we do, the way we file in our offices. You know, if I drop dead today, my deputy should be able to go into my office and find that he knows every file, everything is systematic. Very few people, I can tell you, even me, myself, I was not that organized. But I had to make a program. I said, you know, we have to be organized. We have to have a quality system of doing things. So then we put up systems and all that, you know. But what we didn't know is that people are observing. Because, you know, there are so many companies in Zambia. But for us, we say we have to be organized. There's no way somebody can come on our site and find we don't have proper records and all that. So now, what we didn't realize, there's an organization in Europe. It's called European Society for Quality Research. So they do researches in Africa. And for Zambia, they had been looking for indigenous Zambians. They didn't want to award a foreign company which is in Zambia because they say it's the same thing. So they picked us up. And they looked at our quality systems, the things that we had put in place and all that, plus our roadmap to the ISO certification. Then they realized that we are doing things according to the ISO certification. So they picked us up. And we were recommended there, and there were a panel of judges, and they awarded us. In 2011, we were awarded the European Award for Best Practices, Quality Award. And I went to Brussels, and we were honored, and we received that award. And also, they had also observed that we had won, even in Zambia, we had won the best consulting firm under my leadership and all that. They have been following. So after that, we started working again. Again in New York, there's again this big organization, which are, by the way, which have awarded companies like Reliance Group. You know, Reliance Group in India is owned by the Ambani brothers. Mukesh Ambani, for your own information, I think is the 7th richest man in the world. He owns the Reliance Group. They were also honored in New York. So that organization which honored them on quality again, they said, it is not the size of the company that matters. It is the systems that you put in place. Because we know when you put up systems in place, you can be small today. 20 years from now, we'll find Ng'andu Consulting will be the biggest consulting firm in the world. And they also awarded us. As usual, you know, when we won that award, people came, he says, Abel bought an award. I said, if I bought an award, go and buy also. As usual, I'm just telling you the attitude of the PhD syndrome that is in this country. So I said, look, if it's simple like that, go to New York and go and award yourself. I mean, go and buy one so that you can put it on your table. You know? But such is those are the kind of, you know, recognition that we have. Even at the present, Ng'andu Consulting, I can tell you, even by the number of employees, we are the biggest consulting firm in Zambia. Okay, it's not that we are the best consulting firm. Yes, we are. If you tell me, we are among the top 5 consulting firms in the country.
So are your competitors local investors or they're foreign entrepreneurs that invest in Zambia?
In fact, our competitors are both foreign and local. And in terms of turnover, I can tell you, we even beat some of the foreign companies. Even when they have branch, even when they originated, say, from South Africa, okay, and they have a branch in Zambia here. By value, as Ng'andu Consulting, we are quite big actually.
Okay, many things to learn from you. What do you think the government needs to do as well in terms of creating an enabling environment for an entrepreneur? Any advice you would give?
Yeah. You know, the only thing I would say before I give that advice from the government, you know, in Zambia here, you know, first of all, even as we grow entrepreneurs, we should look somewhere. What do we want to become? One of the things that the benchmarks that I have is to say, I want to see a Zambian appear on Forbes. Genuinely. You are there, genuinely. I mean, Ng'andu Consulting does work genuinely. It's there to be seen. We appear on TVs and whatever, you can see our work, which are there. We are doing the dual carriageway, we are doing the Mumbolantres Corner, I mean, big projects. And these, right now, we are even supervising Chipata Vubu and whatever. That contract alone is worth 1.2 trillion kwacha. And we are supervising. It's in 2 lots. Okay, that's more than $200 million. Okay? So now, when you look at what I want to see is Zambians, genuinely, wherever you come from, whatever your background, you should come and appear in Forbes. Where they say, look, a Zambian has entered, maybe in the next 5 years, they say Abel Ng'andu has entered Forbes. That is what we want. You know? So when you look at that, now, you know, I am a very ardent follower of Strive Masiwa from Zimbabwe. You know, I follow him on Facebook. Of course, I also follow Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. You know, I read a lot of their books. But, you know, Strive Masiwa strikes me because it's just next door. It's just like us. I mean, it's got a very similar story. But he said one thing. He says, you know, if you can never be on the Forbes unless you grow your company where you can even raise money on stock exchange. Yeah. Okay? Zambians don't have that. We have got this thing of you raise a company, Abel dies, it goes down. That is not what we want. We want the company, Ng'andu Consulting is not about me. The name is just happen to be, I'm the founder. But you know, we want even in future people to drive it. Now, you know, we have challenges in this country as entrepreneurs. You know, I'll tell you that most of this economy, especially the private sector, is owned by foreigners. And that's very unfortunate. And that is why even when you see the government borrow, say, the Eurobond, and pumps in with good intentions, but it goes in foreign hands. And they still externalize it, and you don't stabilize the currency. So you find at some point, for me, my wish is, even as the government is borrowing, for example, in future, they should borrow deliberately. For example, they say, okay, we borrow $1 billion, but this is for Zambian entrepreneurs. Abel, we've seen you grow. we want as a government, we'll pump in $150 million. In your vision, can you grow up? But put up proper corporate governance structures. They are there. I mean, that's why you can be listed. They can even tell, okay, fine, if we pump in $150 million in your company, within 5 years you should list on the Lusaka Stock Exchange so that it becomes big. So, you know, when they, for example, pump in, and if you ask me, has it been done anywhere? Yes. In South Africa, Nelson Mandela, the ANC, they did that. That's why you've got Patrice Motsepe, you've got Cyril Ramaphosa, they are billionaires. They were given money and even businesses by government. So there's nothing wrong in giving the citizens the money direct, even if it goes direct in their business. Say, okay, let's pump it. Of course, you know, with the attitude in Zambia of PhD, they would say, why have you selected this person and whatever. But I'll tell you at some point, if the government have to change the equation, they have to pump in money in Zambian citizens. If we have to have the Dangotes of this world. I mean, look, Dangote has done an investment of $500 million. Huh? Who is the Zambian partner there? Nobody. You know, even if he came to me and said, so Abel, can you pump in $50 million? I'll tell him, okay, give me another 5 years, I'll get back to you. Okay? But what I'm trying to say, there's nothing wrong in the government, for example, identifying people, not necessarily me, anybody they look at, say, look, we want to pump in $200 million in your business or whatever, pay province or whatever, and go and let it go. So I think the government, if you ask me, they have done a good thing. In the construction, they have said 20%. They have said minimum 20% should be subcontracted to Zambians. But for me, I think 20% is too low. I mean, how can you own the country, so why should you say 20%? It should even be 80%, you know? Because all the opportunities, I can tell you, me, I'm in the road sector. The money which the government is using now is Zambian money. In the past, it used to be, you know, EU funding, World Bank, whatever. But the last 5 to 10 years, Zambian government has pumped in money in the construction industry. So even as they are looking for future policies, they should consider to go further, to pump in money. In fact, I'm looking forward to a time where I can see where it is even an announcement. The following people or businesses have been empowered $100 million which we are pumping in and whatever is for Zambians. Because when we do that, then we can compete. There's nothing wrong. I can tell you in Kafue, which we are doing there, we are going to be producing ready-mix concrete. And one of the primary input is cement. So the cement, you know, we won't be so much competitive because we buy cement. So one of the key inputs is cement. Huh? You have to buy either from Dangote or from Lafarge. Lafarge can come in, for example, increase, which is their business decision. But it can impact on how much I sell the ready-mix concrete or other products, okay? But a situation like that, for example, where if our company starts operating next month, then they say, your primary component is cement. Then you say, okay, fine, Abel. Can you set up a mini cement factory? We shall pump in money as a government, $50 million, set it up, so that your products in downstream can be competitive to others. I'm just giving an example. So those are the kind of things we are saying the government, but I'm not saying that the government has not done enough. They have been trying to do a lot of good things for the locals. But I think it is very important that they go further and they empower Zambians directly.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to make mention that Abel has agreed to spend some 20-30 minutes after we end the program. So if you do have questions, he's still around. We'll need to end the program. Your last words, Mr. Ng'andu.
No, first of all, I'd like to thank you for featuring me on Startup Grind. You know, it's really a very good platform for people who want to be entrepreneurs. In fact, I would like to encourage them that whatever they want to do, whether to open a shop or whatever they want to do, to become an engineer, an entrepreneur, I think they should not fear. One of the biggest things that Zambians fear, which I've seen, when a Zambian receives message to say you've been fired from work. They want to die, I'm telling you. You know, they hold on to work, you know. So don't fear. I know that's the biggest fear. But I can tell you, the highest level in human development is to be yourself, to be an entrepreneur. I'll tell you, there's nothing which is so nice. There's nothing better than that. Because you know what, when you're an entrepreneur, you've made money and you've made profits, you can own anything that you want. So entrepreneurship is the best, actually. Working is a good thing to start with. But as a person, have a program to say, after you work, don't work until you are not required. You know? That is the biggest problem. You find retirement age. I remember at some point we used to talk to say, when is this man dying? I mean, if he can come out, you know that kind of stuff. Because the mind is not moving, you know. So, but let's not have that attitude. Let's have an attitude where, have a personal program where you say, okay, I'll work for 10 years. After 10 years, I'll be on my own. Zambia is one of the few countries with very few entrepreneurs. Very few successful entrepreneurs. Zambians own shops. Akantemba, you know, that kind of stuff. No. We want to have Zambians, when you reach, even when you go to the UK, Kuma air shows. Variant that, oh no, Abel is coming. I have a private jet we have reserved for him. I mean, he's going to choose a Gulf Stream. You know, this Gulf Stream is his. The same way Dangote goes to choose that. But we want Zambians to be there. Especially, in fact, it should not even start with me. There are young people here, even old people. Show us. Do not fear. Have a personal program to be an entrepreneur. And I can tell you, I enjoy it. And I'll tell you, I don't regret. And I don't think I'll ever go back to working, I can tell you. I'll retire as an entrepreneur. Because it's nice. You enjoy money, you know, you fly business class. You enjoy all the good things in life. Because you know what, it's your money. You are not answerable to anybody. Because it's your money. If you want to go and own a house in London, you can own it. If you want to go and own a house in Dubai, you can own it. So please, I encourage you. And whenever you need any encouragement, if you want to see which entrepreneur who has faced challenges, but he's there and I'm still growing. If you ask me, what is my wish? I want to be on the Forbes. I want, when they mention, you even say, I met him, he had told us that he's going to do it, and he has become one. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Abel, for taking time out and just inspiring and educating us on your journey. I think we owe him another round of applause. Let's just appreciate